If you are seeing this message, I am being held hostage in an undisclosed location. All I can hear is construction outside. I don't know how long I've been in here. It feels like forever. And my captives have been giving me this song to listen to called After All. They said, if I successfully understand it, they might let me go. So let's hope so. Anyway, if you find this, please send help.
Right then, today we are talking about the band Hostage, and it has been a hot minute since we've heard from them. I think last time we checked in with them was over a year ago, where I did a reaction for their cover of the track Don't Let Me Down by the Chainsmokers. Really good cover. Really showed, you could turn a pop song that's generally not very good into something that's high quality in the metal scene. And since then, they have come around and finally dropped their debut album called Memento Mori, and with it a huge host of songs that have really just shown off what this band is capable of for their debut album. Today specifically, I'm going to be talking about the track After All, which is the closing track of the album. Now, I will be referencing other songs on this album because I feel like, to get a better picture and an idea of this song, you kind of got to know a little bit about everything. So in a weird way, I'm going to be reviewing the whole album, but really specifically, I'm going to be talking about the track After All. So After All is a bit of an outlier of a track because it aims to pull at your heartstrings, where with a lot of the other tracks, it aims to pull you into a mosh pit.
I thought life passed me by. I was shouting in my sickness and sorrow.
And that's not a bad thing. I think it's always good to have a bit of variety in your album to make sure that, we're kept on our toes, we're seeing a whole gamut of emotional states that a band can take you through.
God, son, that's wonderful.
And After All ending with a very somber or melancholic note is, I think, a perfect way to end an album, especially if it's a very high energy album, to have that contrast at the end. And it really helps to show off what you as a band can do in a different thematic sense. After All is what you'd call a pretty straightforward metalcore track, where it has your very sort of metalcore style riffs. And in this case, they go for more of a very subdued feel with the verse, where it's very quiet, it's very subtle. But in doing so, it gives a very important instrument that freedom to shine. And that is the vocals. The vocals for me are the key in this band, just for the fact that they are so well produced.
Wow, that is delicious.
They have this shine, this very sharp, clean feel to it. It just cuts through everything. It sounds crispy, it doesn't sound overcompressed, and it has a bit of reverb and delay. On top of that, the vocal stylings remind me a lot of the pop scene. Now, I don't know much about pop at all, really. I only know bits and pieces here and there, but definitely it has that very catchy tone to it that really hooks you and can keep you really engaged for long periods of time. And for this album, it's quite a substantially long album, and having that very crispy, clear vocals there really helps to just keep you going throughout the whole experience. And on top of that, I can understand every word that the vocalist is saying, which is very important because I have discussed in the past, if you're a person who doesn't know anything about the lore of music, whether it be mixing, mastering, writing, anything, well, most likely the thing that you will connect with the most in a band is the vocals. With this band, the vocals are up front, they're prominent, and as such, it means that you're going to be engaged no matter what. When it comes to the mix of the album, I'm honestly very impressed for a debut especially. Everything is sounding very clear, very professional, very, very well balanced. The only thing I can say, and this is definitely a me problem, and I feel like a channel problem, is that I still feel the drums can be brought back just a little bit more and letting the guitars shine up a bit more on top. Because there was definitely moments, especially during the verse sections, where it's very much like a very sparse guitar section, and the drums are definitely the prominent piece in those sections along with the vocals. The drums, I always felt as though that they were trying to compete with the vocals, which I don't think is what you want to do. You want the drums a bit lower and let the vocals do their thing. And the whole drum thing as well, I can honestly put to every track on this album, where I feel like the drums just dominate sometimes too much. When I first listened to the album, I listened to it on YouTube, and And we're all aware YouTube has some ridiculous compression things they do for music, so I went and listened to Apple Music, and definitely the mid-range instrumentation is a lot more prominent, but still there's that dominating feeling of the drums. 100% bring the drums down, bring the mid-range instruments a bit up, because there's some beautiful sections that the guitars are playing and throughout the album that I feel like deserve a bit more of a spotlight in the whole grand scheme of things. And just a comparison, we can go back to the track last year with Don't Let Me Down, the cover, where the guitars were very prominent. And in some ways then, I thought the guitars were maybe a bit too prominent, so we kind of pendulum to the other direction now. So we just gotta bring it back, bring it to the center, and yeah, we'll be good. We'll be good. It'll be really good. Another thing I really enjoyed as well is the orchestration that they used, especially going into the second chorus with the second verse.
Everybody needs a savor, a spark of hope which lights up the dark.
Now, it is very apparent in this day and age that a lot of modern metal bands, whether they be deathcore, metalcore, hardcore, literally every genre of modern metal, they want to incorporate orchestration. Some have done it well, some have done it not well. And in the case of the band Hostage, they've done it well, in that they've used the orchestration, the strings, the brass, the horns, whatever they used from the orchestra, they used it as a supplement and not a replacement. Because I've seen a lot of bands, and I'm going to use Lorna Shore as one example. I know they want to go for that whole black metal feel, but still, I think it's a good example, is that they use the orchestration almost at par with the guitars, the mid-range instruments, and in some cases, the vocals themselves. And when you do that, you tend to take away from those main instruments instead of adding to them. In the case of Hostage here, they've done it the correct way, where they've used the orchestration to bolster the instrumentations that are already there, making instruments have more weight and impact. It also adds a lot more emotional depth to the music itself. And with a track like After All that has a lot more of an emotional impact, speaking about more sensitive topics, you need the orchestration to be a bit more of a supplement to the instruments that are there and adding to that emotional aspect to it. So I think they did it very well in that sense. And finally, I love the orchestration for the fact that it has a bit of a crescendo effect that really adds to everything. And for those people who don't know about what a crescendo is or read music, a crescendo is pretty much a gradual increase of intensity or loudness. In a nutshell, that's what it is. So overall, what do I think about the track After All? I really liked it. It's definitely not the kind of music I would usually listen to, but I can definitely see myself growing into it. It's very emotional, it's very easy to get on with, and overall, it's just well produced. I can say that for pretty much the entire album. Because with debut albums, there's usually one of two ways that things will go down. One is that the band chooses to create an album that's very much inspired by, their inspirations. And as such, a lot of the times people will listen to that album and be like, oh, that sounds like a band that I've heard before. I'm going to listen to this band. Or bands tend to be uber experimental, balls to the wall, because guess what? YOLO. And what it ends up doing is sometimes isolating the band from being seen, or at best case scenario, you'll develop a very niche fan base that eventually will grow over time. Hostage here have definitely gone for the more mainstream effect, where they're creating music that has an overall just a very good foundation, but I can definitely see them being able to branch out into way more experimental avenues. A good comparison I could see for a band that they could be like is like Time the Evaluator, which is another band from Germany, where they have that similar sort of pop style vocals with the whole metalcore djent feel, but they've branched out as well and started doing a lot more things with like jazz piano, EDM, electronic music, and there are moments of that as well on this album too. And all I can say is I can't wait to see where they branch out from here, because at the end of the day, this album may not be the most unique thing on earth. It's not gonna blow minds. It's not gonna be like, oh my god, where was this band this whole time? I've never heard something so unique and so moving. But it did one thing correct, and that was it set a bar, which every debut album does. And with that bar set, which I'll be honest, it's a good bar. It's a really good bar they set. But what it means is they have a strong foundation to go anywhere with their music now. And all I can really say is I'm looking forward to see where they go from here. I really liked a lot of the tracks here. I thought After All was a very clean piece of music that could move anyone, and it just makes me excited to see where they're gonna go from here. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the new track After All / the album Memento Mori. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hostage, I know you're gonna be watching this, so thank you for watching, first of all. And two, thank you for reaching out, asking me to talk about this. It was worth reaching out. I really enjoyed the album. But besides that, thank Thank you guys for watching. Stay hydrated, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.